Alright, everyone, and welcome back. We are feeling much better, to say the least. Uh, I still kind of sound nasally, and that's because I am. But I am feeling better. I'm going to be getting back to our normal scheduled stuff, mostly. So I've decided I'm going to scale back to 5 videos a week, and that will be the most that I upload, period, in a story. And today we're going to be taking a look at a newer game that's going to be coming out at some point in time. I have no idea when it actually is going to go into full release. The game is very, very early in development, frankly speaking. As you can see up here, we're not even to what I would consider beta stages yet. So we're not even to 0.5 yet. I will apologize. I will be muting my mic and whatnot when I need to cough, or trying to mute it when I need to cough and whatnot. Dayquil is your friend when you're not feeling well, just saying. Anyways, this is Infection Free Zone. This is being developed by Jutsu Games. This is in the same vein as 112 Operator, 911 Operator, which were a series of games that were basically they were centered around public services, mainly law enforcement. And the concept behind this game is it's similar, but you're surviving against a I Am Legends style infection. This is not zombies. A lot of people might look at this and be like, "Oh, it's a zombie game." It's not. They are not zombies in the traditional sense. These are very much in the vein of I Am Legend. If you've watched the movie at all, I believe there was a book for I Am Legend as well. But they're not zombies. They're kind of think of them as primal humans, kind of like what you would see um, with a regressive disease like in Planet of the Apes and stuff like that. Basically, humanity has devolved, or the infected have devolved into a more primal form of humanity, and things have gotten a little interesting, as you can see by the background here on the title screen. But what the really cool thing about this game is, and this is like, I think the hallmark of this game, is the way you select where you play. Yes, that is a globe, and each of those dots represents a city. Now, you might notice that some of these places are a little more developed than others. Like, for example, here in the US, there's quite a bit missing. But over in Europe, for example, we have quite a bit to play with. Same thing with the Middle East, same thing with India, same thing with China, so on and so forth. So these are different areas that you can select. You have to you can't just click on, like, say for example up here. What? Interesting. It will let you click there, but it won't show anything. You have to click on one of these little dots, and it will actually bring up the area in question. Like, say for example here we have Madrid, and then we can go ahead and we can select a portion of Madrid to play in. So if we scroll in here, we'll start to get the actual street map developing, so we'll be able to see this as it is. Now, we aren't going to be doing this today. We're just going to be selecting one of the recommended locations. So we have Crofton, USA, Dijon, France, Cambridge, UK, Templin, Germany, Zhuan, China, I don't know how to say that. Tezhao? 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 Is that how it Tezhao? And then Peschiera, Italy. We're going to go with Crofton, USA, because I'm from the US, of course. And I think it's the easiest one to kind of just get your feet wet with. If you're just wanting to kind of play around and experiment with the game, this is probably the one you want to just go ahead and select. Um, So let's go ahead and jump in here. We can't really change much of this. You can't change the name. You can't change what season you start in. You can change how many people, how many more resources you start with, number of hordes. We're just going to keep everything default. Now, with this game, there is some clunkiness due to some of the early development side effects, but also from a design perspective. And we'll show that off as we get through the game. I'm probably going to play this for a while. I can't really tell you how long because, well, we'll just see.
The world as we know it is gone. What we called the mad virus appeared out of nowhere. It made people turn extremely violent, aggressive, and unrestrainable. Soon later, the infected became bloodthirsty, more like vampires than human. There was chaos, panic, and war for survival. Desperate people were just as dangerous as the virus itself. Even our loved ones could become a threat. The infection spread quickly throughout the entire globe. Every region, every country, every city. Drastic measures were taken to get rid of the infected, but they all failed. The last chance for those who seemed immune was to hide in underground shelters, ones that we improvised in garages and basements, loaded with food, water, and air filtration systems. These were the places where we survived, sealed from the outside. For so long, we waited for any signal, any info that a cure had been found, or the situation stabilized. Instead, we listened as the world grew quiet. Our resources were becoming depleted. Life support systems were failing. And just as we were losing all hope, we received a distant call. This was the impulse we needed. There were others out there. We could come back to the surface. No more hiding. From the ruins of the old world, we will build our new home.
Operator, this is First Squad Leader. We made our way out. The neighborhood looks deserted. We'll have to scavenge the nearby buildings for any useful resources.
Okay, find something to eat as fast as possible.
All right, so here you go. We are in Crofton, USA, which actually I should go and look at Google Maps and see if I can figure out where exactly this location is, just for shits and gigs. I'll probably do that later and then just paste that in at the end or whatever. However, as you can see, we have our headquarters, which is standard for all the default locations that they have listed. Crofton, Cambridge, Templin, Biscaria, all those. The headquarters is a pre-selected building, period, end of story. Now, if you free select a location, you'll be able to actually place your headquarters in a building of your choosing. So there is an advantage of playing a free game rather than a default game. Now, how the game functions is that you are trying to rebuild, but initially you're kind of just surviving. And so scavenging is definitely your first priority, but as time goes on, getting to the point of actually, what's the word I'm looking for? Actually cultivating your industry and your economy. You're basically you're going from a scavenger game to an economy game, from the early game to the late game. Now each of your actions are as dictated basically by your squads. So here we have squad 1. Squads are the only thing that can loot. Your civilians cannot loot buildings. Only the squads can. And only the squads can freely roam around at night. Night is when the infected come out and play. This is where the I Am Legends style comes into play.
Roger.
So let's go ahead and queue up some looting for this squad. And let's go ahead and create a second squad
Awaiting orders.
that will then send over to this section of houses.
Going there.
Let's do that. And then we're also going to create one more squad. Now, when you start the game with the default settings across the board, you will only start with 8 guns. I believe you start with 10 or 12. Or you only start with 10 guns. You start with like 12 or... It's like 12 or something. I don't remember. I played it while I was sick, so I honestly just don't remember. So this squad only has 2 firearms available.
On my way.
If your squad does not have firearms available, they will fight in melee. Melee is incredibly dangerous in this game. Do not fight in the melee. It is not a fun time for anybody. Now, as with most city builders, there are work orders that you can set up. So we can do work orders for metal, bricks, and wood. In this case, we're going to go ahead and queue up our work order for wood. So let's just do the trees. Let's just do actually, let's do it this way. An immediate area around the headquarters just to get some immediate wood up and running. The work areas, I have played up to the 54-day mark in this game. You can see what day you're on up here. The game becomes incredibly arduous past that point. So honestly speaking, with this current alpha build, you really can't go past the 50-day mark because it takes so long to harvest resources. It's just not that viable. You can do it, but it's going to be tough. Now, with this initial area right here, we have this block of houses that we're on right here, this initial starting neighborhood. We're going to go ahead and surround this with a palisade to protect us. So we're going to go ahead and also queue up some demolition orders. So you can demo buildings for resources. So we're going to go ahead and queue these up to get rid of these little shacks. These are like those garden sheds that people will have in the back of their yard. We're going to get rid of these because these are actually going to occlude us from being able to wrap a wall around this initial area right here. We're just going to get rid of those real quick, and then we're going to try to get a defensive perimeter up as quickly as possible. Let's go ahead and unpause, let our squad start roaming out. Let's let the citizens start getting to work. And all your little people you can see highlighted by green dots here. If you come out to this view here, you'll see these green dots. These are all your little people. And you can check the status of each individual. Like, it is not a case of these are kind of just like little random AI guys just walking off. You can actually see like, oh, hey, you know, Joyce Garcia here. She's going off and scavenging and she's at full health. You can actually, and each of these little guys has a health bar. Like you can lose people individually if you're not too careful. And so let's go ahead and get some scavenging done. Now, the smaller the building, the faster the building is to search. So most of these houses will take us very little time to actually get through. We'll probably get through this initial neighborhood right here relatively quick. A larger building like this, for example, this school here, this will take a little longer to actually get through.
Search done. There's nothing left. Going there. Roger.
Okay, I'll point you where to go.
Chief, I will speak on behalf of the other citizens. Let us go and adapt the buildings to suitable shelters, so we won't spend a single more night underground.
Building clear.
Yes, that sounds like a good idea.
So, with construction and adapting buildings. So, you construct defenses and farming fields and so on and so forth. You adapt the pre-existing structures for your needs. So, in this case, we need shelters for our people, so we click shelter, and this allows us to adapt, say, this building to a shelter. Now, I know, because I've played this map before, I'm going to need 2 shelters in order to accommodate all the people that we have. So we'll go ahead and queue up those 2. We're also going to need somewhere to store stuff. So we're going to go ahead and adapt a warehouse. We're just going to go ahead and adapt this building here, just so that we can kind of just keep everything centered around our HQ.
Building clear.
Your HQ acts as initial housing, so we can have up to 16 people living in the HQ, and it also acts as your initial storage.
Search done. Building clear. On my way.
Alright, so we're doing pretty good so far. We found a good amount of food,
Search done.
an extra fuel canister right there. Now, to explain how fuel works, so you will find vehicles spread, and just so we can zoom out, if you see this dark green line right here, this is the limit of the demo, or not the demo, but the alpha boundaries that you're able to play in. So these 9 grids right here are our limited area. You can find vehicles within the map to commandeer and then use to improve the speed at which your squads can get around. Fuel, if you deposit in your storage and then bring a vehicle near that storage building, it will refuel the vehicle. Squads that have fuel in their inventories will also refuel the vehicle as they go. So really, really good way to keep things copacetic is to make sure that you just kind of have a central location where most of your fuel is. There's not an easy way to transport items around yet. This is probably the biggest pet peeve that I have of the game right now, is that there are 2 things. 2. One, there very much needs to be an improvement to the ability to move things around. Like, say, for example, if I had a button here that's like move, and then I select a warehouse, or vice versa, I can move items between those 2 things. And then my second pet peeve is the fact that there's no filter for limiting what things go where. So, like, for example, here at my headquarters, I don't want building materials in my headquarters. I want those in the warehouse. And vice versa. Be able to set up your warehouses and your storage and everything. Just, in my opinion, I'd really, really like to see those mechanics added in as soon as possible.
Clear.
So we're almost done tearing down those sheds, which getting rid of those day 1, really, really helpful. Because it means that we'll be able to start building our perimeter quicker.
There's nothing left.
And then we're also harvesting wood at a decent rate. But we do need to get these shelters adapted sooner rather than later as well. So as soon as these sheds are out of the way, we'll be set to go.
Roger. Clear.
And then people who are currently working on that will get sent out to gather wood. We're gonna try to gather as many resources as we can right off the rip, to expedite building as quickly as possible. Now, you might be...
Sir, the sun is getting low. We don't know what's going to happen during the night. We can continue our scavenging operations in the dark, but that will be way more dangerous than waiting until sunrise.
Everyone should be
Going there.
acknowledged. Stay safe.
But you might be tempted to just drag a massive area for wood cutting, for example. I have tested this in multiple different fashions. It is easier and more efficient to do smaller work orders than to do big work orders. Just overall, the efficiency is so much better on smaller work orders. It's unreal. So you don't want to just, like in this case, I can just drag and just have all these trees cut down. It's not that easy, unfortunately. So I definitely recommend taking it easy and actually just holding off in that regard.
Clear.
So let's go ahead and have the squads return home. This will
Time to sleep, everyone.
set up everybody in a defensive position inside the building, and then we wait for the infected. Now your day-night cycle, as you can tell, it's getting to 6 o'clock, which is nighttime, or, well, 6:30, 6:15, somewhere in that region is usually when it switches over. Is it 6:30? 6:24, okay. You can see it right here, actually. So 6:23 is when the sun goes down, sunrise at 5:51.
There are some infected around here. Sir, we just saw a group of infected. They might not be aware of our presence yet.
We'll stay away from them.
Alright, so infected. Infected also operate in squads. Now, here's the key thing to understand about their squad size and our squad size. Our squad size is limited to 4 men per team. So we have a fire team doctrine, whereas they have a mob doctrine. They operate and can words are hard. They can operate upwards into groups of 20 to 25, if I remember correctly. I think it's 25 is their max, or somewhere in that region. And as such, the more members of the mob that they have, the harder the mob is to kill, the slower it is to kill. There's also, per my understanding, plans for special infected. There's already a second class of infected in the game, which are the infected dogs, which are faster, and they're kind of glass cannons. They're fast as hell, and they do a shit ton of damage, but they're very, very fragile. They die very quickly. Whereas the humanoid, or the human infected, they will, they're a little more robust, they're a little harder to kill, they're not as fast, but when you got 2 or 3 mobs running at you at once, it's kind of a problem. Now, infected will wander around at night and search out for non-infected humans.
Infected incoming!
And then they will jump into any structure, basically the closest structure. Sometimes the pathing and the AI logic is kind of weird, but then they will jump into whatever structure, and that structure will become a lair for the day. Now, the thing is that you can clear them during the day by sending a squad in and taking them out. I don't recommend doing it when you just have pistols available, unless it's small groups. Like this 6 right here, we can handle with pistols, no problem. Once you start getting 10, 15, 20,